All right, and I'll pass it over to you, Diggy, whenever you're ready to get this started.
Thanks. I'll just give it another minute or so for more people to join.
There's a Zoom link in the stage chat. You can click to follow along with the screen share. Please just stay muted.
Chow, if you have the URL for the POAP, I just had the image of it. Can share it.
Good to see lots of familiar faces in the audience today. Thank you guys all for joining. I'm looking forward to this one.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Share my screen over on Zoom. For anybody who doesn't have the link, it's in the stage chat. All right, can you guys see my screen on the Zoom? Yes? Brian, checking you said yes. Okay, cool. So there's the POAP. We'll show it again at the end, and then I think Chow's gonna also post the URL to claim it. But welcome. We are gonna talk today about the proposal that I put up for integrating Pendo into the ShapeShift web app and the mobile application. And the Pendo team is here, so they'll help us do a deeper dive. But first, I wanted to touch on the proposal and just give a high-level overview of Pendo and what they do. And then I'll let them take the reins and do the deep dive with everybody. So the agenda is just the overview, a recap of the proposal that I've got up, the deep dive into Pendo when they take over, and then I think they have a demo that they might do today. And then we'll have time for Q&A at the end. Also, if you have any questions as we're going through this, feel free to post them in the stage chat, and then we can address them once we get to the Q&A session. So Pendo Overview. So this is a tool that we are looking to integrate into the web app and the mobile app. This will include the current platform and the new web app, that the new open source version. One of the things that we really like about Pendo, in addition to being like a user guidance and feature adoption tool, they also have a very robust product analytics. And we're looking at this as being an all-in-one solution. We looked at them as a solution also compared with Amplitude, which is another big analytics tool. And we thought, because they give us the entire package, it would be really awesome just to use them instead of having multiple tools to give us the separate solutions. And then sentiment analytics. So Pendo will allow us to gather data from our users on how they feel about our products. We'll be able to serve up surveys, NPS scores, and polls directly inside the applications. In addition to this, and something that we've been wanting for quite a while in centralized ShapeShift, and I'm super excited that hopefully we'll get this going in the DAO, is in-app guides and tooltips. So We'll be able to deliver guides for users. And I think this is extremely important too in our mobile application, where we see a lot more crypto newbies and people that might need more hand-holding with onboarding into things that they've never done before or been exposed to before. We think this is really important for just basically user retention and also allowing our users to have more opportunities for things like feature discovery and getting assistance when they need it without having to leave our application. And then feedback, this will also allow us to gather and feedback from our users and then keeping them updated on the status of their requests and suggestions. And all of this is with no development efforts. So this is one thing, these guides and these tooltips, we have a lot of designs actually already ready to go, but they've been deprioritized in centralized ShapeShift just because of the development efforts involved. I also think this will allow us to stay a little bit more agile. For example, when we update a feature or make changes to a feature, will be very easy for us as the product team to go in and make changes to the onboarding for that feature or the tool tips associated to that feature without involving any dev efforts. So I'm just gonna link to the proposal here. So I have the proposal up on the forum. And here I just do a little bit more explanation on why we picked Pendo. We looked at a lot of different tools and we thought that they were the most robust. And like I said earlier, they also give us the analytics piece, which we'll be using to, of course, be reporting data back to the community. And one of the things in the proposal too is that I'm proposing that the product workstream set up and maintain all of these guides and feedback surveys and everything that Pendo does. Will be responsible for handling all of that. So if you are curious, you can find this on the forum and take a look. And then there's an opportunity to upvote or downvote the proposal in the forum. And let me go back to my, sorry, wrong link. Okay, next, I'm actually going to hand the reins over to Pendo now. I'm really fun to do the deep dive into their product offering. So I'm going to stop sharing, and then I think either Brian or Paige is going to take over.
So yeah, hello ShapeShift and Fox Token community. My name is Brian Cools. I'm an account executive on the Pendo team. We've been privileged to have the opportunity to work with Willie, Diggy, and Beard throughout this evaluation process, and are really excited to present the community with some context to the Pendo platform and the value it can provide the product workstream. So, it's not every day that you get to work with a team that plans to dissolve their corporate structure and completely decentralize. So we're truly honored to have potentially aid in that process with our ability to provide the community with one platform to capture the necessary product analytics, user sentiment, and the ability to take action with in-app guidance, really to help evolve the product while providing the best user experience possible. So I do want to make a couple introductions on my side of the house. I've got Paige Delabadia and then Zach Auer. Paige is on our value team. So Paige is going to be running through a couple slides to really give you some context around the value of Pendo and how that aligns with ShapeShift and what we've learned over the last couple of months during the evaluation process. And then Zach Auer is one of our sales engineers who will be walking through the product itself and doing a little bit more deep dive into the functionality. So with that being said, let me share my screen with everybody. And we'll have Paige walk through some of the value slides. Make sure you're off mute on the Discord side in the bottom left-hand corner.
Awesome. Thanks, Brian. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, thanks for the introduction, Brian. Hi, everyone. As Brian mentioned, thank you for having us today. This is really exciting for us, and we really hope that we can bring some value to your community and really help showcase the power of Pendo and what it can really bring for you guys. So I'm going to walk through a couple of different pieces of information based on what Diggy kind of already shared, and then some additional context around how we're able to help you and how we can really drive these different initiatives for you. for the community. So go ahead, Brian, if you don't mind moving to the next slide. Perfect. So a lot of this is what Diggy already covered, but when we first started talking with Diggy and Willie, we really dug into some of the challenges that you guys have today as you continue to scale, grow, and focus on the community initiatives. How can we help, and what are some of those challenges that you have? So what we heard is we really want to be able to implement a tool to help understand users and behavior, right? Get those analytics and understand, where there might be friction points, how users are tracking, how different types of features are adopted, right? And be able to use that to help inform maybe different product related decisions and how we can iterate or make changes accordingly based on different types of user behavior and sentiment. Going hand in hand with that is this piece of guidance, right? That in-app communication, being able to provide in-app context and help drive adoption, or even just guide users and really start to understand, okay, in different areas, right? Where can we capture user sentiment, understand exactly how users are feeling, or maybe where there's opportunity to grow, make changes, or just provide a better overall user experience. And then going hand in hand with that, the ability to segment, right? Understand different types of users, right? Based on who they are, what they've done. We can do this contextually or dynamically based on some different key features and really be able to kind of use this as an all-in-one solution, as Diggy mentioned, to create this better overall user experience to really help drive more value, right, for the community members. So in terms of outcomes and capabilities, we'll get into this a little bit, but can we just figure out a way to make data-driven decisions, right? Remove some guesswork and understand exactly what to do and when? Can we bring new users into the community at scale? And can we retain users, right? Keep them coming in, engaging, right? If they're unengaged, can we get them to interact, right? How can we do all of those things? And how can we make those outcomes with Pendo? So in terms of our capabilities, just being able to build guides with minimal engineering reliance, quick, easy, and effective way to scale different types of in-app communication, being able to use analytics and insights to help understand data and help guide where we're going with the product, as well as that segmentation like I mentioned previously. So Brian, if you don't mind going to the next slide. Perfect. So we talked a lot on this already, but with Pendo, we'd be able to do this all in one place in one centralized location. So be able to understand analytics, capture user sentiment, and then help guide users based on those different types of insights that we're understanding. So it's really a means of providing one cohesive solution to accomplish all of these different initiatives in one place. Awesome. Okay, so here's where we get into a little bit more of the value. So what is Pendo going to bring to ShapeShift, right, and the Fox Token community holders, and how can we really impact these different initiatives? Well, in talking with Diggy and Willie right off the bat, there were a couple of key areas that we focus on, many of them which we've touched on already, but just the ability to kind of create this data layer, right? Be able to start understanding and gathering that data to give us a place to benchmark and understand where we are so we can forecast and keep evolving as we start to grow. And then being able to kind of use that as a means for figuring out what to build, how to create different experiences and really create and enhance that user engagement and behavior while also being able to scale some of that because of the product that we have at hand with Pendo. In addition to that, just being able to increase adoption of not only new, but some existing features. Maybe there are high value features users aren't taking advantage of. We can understand that and make changes to that by using the analytics and in-app communication to showcase new features, call out different areas where users might be underutilizing or might not be engaged at all, right? If they're inactive users, how can we kind of point them in the right direction so they start seeing value and the value keeps growing inside of the community, as well as just being able to maximize that value, right? So are there unengaged users? Are there users who aren't taking action, right? Can we think about different strategies and ways to be able to re-engage and really make sure that we're retaining visitors, right? Day over day, week over week, month over month, ideally year over year, and then continuing to increase that revenue to the down, that value that we're going to see out of some of these insights that we're understanding. All right, Brian, if we can go to the next slide. Perfect. So of course, we've talked a lot about this already, but what I really wanted to highlight here was some of the benchmarks that we have in place today. So where our customers have really been able to see a lot of this value come to life in terms of ROI and return on that investment and type of value that they're getting in each of these areas. So specifically with regards to that data aspect, right, being able to have that visibility into product usage, you guys will be able to use the data that you have to, arm ShapeShift work streams with different ways to understand what to build next, how to innovate faster, ideally with higher value out of doing that. And we really see anywhere from 11 to 25% is where the majority of our customers see a lot of success in that reduction in road mapping and planning time or strategy planning, whatever that looks like. And a lot of our customers actually see even greater than that. But this is kind of where we like to start and say, okay, as you start to rely on analytics, that's where you'll really be able to see the breadth of your knowledge and really start to make changes and kind of reduce some of those resources and costs associated with product planning while scaling some of those initiatives. In addition to that, in terms of product and feature adoption, this is one of our most powerful use cases. We really see a lot of our customers benefit from around 30 to 50% improvement in feature adoption, oftentimes more than that, because of the ability to understand behavior and then provide some of those in-app contextual communication tactics to be able to drive awareness around features. And then the last being just increasing that user acquisition and retention, right? So understanding users, being able to target them accordingly. And we're really able to see anywhere from 10 to 25% increase in retention and possibly more depending on how efforts are focused in that area. I'll kick this one over to Mike.
Yeah, so what the slider is really representing is, the big differentiator with Pendo is that we're one platform with many point solutions within it. So they're all being leveraged together, whether that they're capturing those analytics and those insights from the product and the usage of your users, and then being able to take action on those insights with our in-app guidance in a targeted fashion and in a segmented fashion. And that segment is based on metadata as well as product usage. So understanding visitors that may be having issues within the platform or running into areas of product friction, Pendo can understand those portions and really guide them to value within the platform. So this is just a comparison of how we are kind of that all-in-one platform compared to those other competitors within the industry. And I believe this has been already shared on the forum. So and obviously happy to share this deck out to the community as well.
Great. So in the last couple of minutes for me here, just want to kind of walk through a couple of different user stories, customer stories that we have in some of these different areas. You'll notice that in a lot of these customer stories, there's a lot of overlapping benefits that are coming from this, which I think tells a really good story of how this all can be done in one platform. But for example here, if you haven't heard of Jammed, if it's an Apple device management software, and they came to us without a real good understanding of how their users were behaving, right? They were worried about the cost of building the wrong things because they weren't understanding where the friction points were or what customers did want to see, right? Being able to understand that sentiment, how they felt about different areas of their product. So with Pendo, they were able to increase visibility into these types of areas, and they were really able to innovate faster, right? And in doing so, increase that product adoption, be able to plan better, build the right things. And in that as well, they were able to increase one of their workflows, which kind of tells the story of how that in-app guidance can really help drive users toward the behaviors that will be ideal or really high value for them to take. Awesome. And then another example we have here shows a really, really great story about feature usage and feature adoption. So Choozle came to us again with some of these challenges where different features were being released, but they weren't really sure about how they were landing with their users and their customers, but they knew that they weren't being adopted well enough. They were able to use Pendo to understand that behavior, use guides to figure out a way to streamline and make more efficient the process of calling attention to those different new features, and then drive a strategy around how they were able to communicate that out to their users, which therefore increased their feature usage by a ton. And this is one of those examples where in a lot of cases, we're actually able to drive more than some of those original customer benchmarks that I was able to share. They also have a really good story associated with revenue. So in thinking about driving value, revenue, and retention, a lot of this will go hand in hand. All right, Brian, if you don't mind switching to that last slide. Perfect. So this is another one that talks about adoption, but what I really wanted to focus on here was the number of active users. So Casted came to us because they were having trouble tracking who was coming back, what stickiness was like, and what the daily and weekly active users were. So we were able to help not only understand that, but drive some more communication, context, have users realize that value quicker out of the platform, understand their sentiment, and then we were able to increase, the rate at which they were coming back, make them stickier, and obviously retain them at a bit of a higher rate. So hopefully this helped give you a little bit of an idea of the type of value that Pendo can bring. Again, at the end, happy to address any questions that you guys have, but wanted to share some of this just for some additional context into just how powerful Pendo can be and how it can help.
Thanks, Paige. Appreciate that. So really the next step in the process is do a deep dive into the platform. So that's why we have Zach Auer on the line, again, one of our sales engineers on the Pendo team. So Zach, do you have the ability to share your screen on the Zoom?
I should. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Excellent. All right. So talked a lot about the value so far. Let's now dive into the Pendo platform and actually put some visuals behind, how Pendo can help the DAO and, ultimately just help drive adoption of ShapeShift and drive more transactions on the platform. So what we're looking at here is the Pendo Dashboard. Again, Pendo is a full platform that covers product insights and analytics, and then allows you to take action from those with guides. When we say guides, we really just mean any in-app message that can be a walkthrough of how to sign up and link a wallet, or it can be a new feature announcement, or maybe an announcement of an event or some other marketing related action item that the team wants to share with the community. I'm going to start with analytics to show at a top level how valuable this is for the team that's building the platform to make sure it's the best possible UX UI for everyone that uses ShapeShift. So at a high level, the team's been trialing Pendo for a few weeks now. So we've been able to set up some pages, some features, and can actually get insights already into how folks are using the platform. What we're looking at here is a dashboard where anyone can log in and view some high-level metrics around what matters most, how visitors are growing or decreasing over time, breakdowns on demographics, browser usage, things of that nature. One thing that I do want to call out here with all of the Pendo is collecting on the security front, we aren't collecting any personal identifiable information or anything like that. It's all going to be anonymous and aggregated on general usage of the platform. So once things are set up, the way that we can start to drive some initial insights is through some of our behavioral analytics reports. Before this call, I went in and created what we refer to as a path. So, as a product person or designer, this is a really valuable initial resource to start to see how users are flowing through the platform. We have a critical mass of pages tagged already, so you can see that there's a few steps in this. If the team moves forward with Pendo, we will have plenty more pages and features tagged, so this will be a more holistic view. But from the onset, we can see, of over the past 30 days, the folks that landed on the dashboard page, this is what everyone did next. And then after that, if I want to drive down into folks that drilled into Bitcoin, what do they do after that? So this will really help the team start to get insights into how users are flowing through the platform, where there might be some friction areas, where there's high drop-off points, then be able to take actions off that to improve the product UI, launch guides to make sure that it becomes stickier, and retain more users in that front. Beyond paths, we also have a few other out-of-the-box reports. One would be funnels. So this is if we have, say, a link a wallet flow. We want to see how users are converting through that process, so that this allows us to define specific steps. So I could do dashboard as the first one, and then the next page that we want to track what users go to could be, link a wallet, or check eligibility. I know is a big one, so I think that might be on the Fox Assets detail page. And if I save and run this, I can just see how users are flowing and converting through these specific steps that we've defined. And again, this really allows the team to identify points of friction in crucial paths, and then launch guides with Pendo without pulling in additional engineering resources to be able to make that process more seamless, deploy educational materials there for folks that might be a little bit iffy on following through with the transaction in that case. So at a high level, those are some of the initial insights that Pendo provides from a product usage perspective. What we'd want to do next is actually take action on this. So I built a quick guide before this call just to show everyone what that looks like. So hypothetically, we could, a user logs in for the first time or visits ShapeShift for the first time. We might drive them to buy or sell crypto. We could add links here to additional information on how to do this, what crypto actually means, educational materials, things like that. Maybe you want to drive more users to actually sign up for an account, so we can call that out. Options are essentially endless in this case. And it really only took me about 5 to 10 minutes to create that guide. So you can see the scale that Pendo really enables. No engineering resources needed, no additional drain on resources in that front. So it's very easy for Diggy, Willie, and Co to come in, create guides, deploy them, experiment, drive more adoption of the platform. The last thing that I want to show, once a guide is up and running, we can actually measure the effectiveness of this by assigning a conversion metric. So with this guide that I built, maybe I do want to drive signups. If that was something that we had tagged as a feature, I can come in and add that as the conversion metric. And then as this guide is in the wild on the platform, we actually track of the folks that see it, how many then go on to click on that button or complete a transaction. So we can measure the ROI and uptick in adoption that deploying this guide is actually driving in that case. So that's an initial overview of what Pendo can accomplish as a platform. We have some other functionality like customer satisfaction surveys, NPS, feedback, things of that nature that I know are maybe phase 2 initiatives for the team. But on that note, I'll take a pause, and I guess we didn't discuss this before the call, but do we want to take any questions from the group, or should we wrap it up on that note?
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on a couple more things, and then we'll open it up for Q&A.
Sweet. Should I stop my screen share, or do you want me to keep it up?
You can keep it up for now. That's okay. So one of the things I also wanted to highlight here is that we can also use to launch resource centers, which could be extremely useful for people when they're seeking out information themselves. So in addition to guiding them through specific features, we can also provide information right when they need it without them having to go into Zendesk or digging through blog posts, trying to find additional information they might need through an in-app resource center. And yeah, he brought it up right there. So we can do something like this. And of course, it would be completely branded to ShapeShift, and we could modify it too, depending on the user, and if we know that somebody's new versus somebody who's been through this before, or somebody who's maybe a little bit more advanced and might be seeking out some different information than a new user would. And I also just wanted to point out that the majority right now of our users are on our mobile app, and Pendo is one of the only solutions out there that does web and mobile, and we're super, super excited for that piece of it as well. And I think that it will be extremely useful, like I said earlier, for the mobile app users who are newer to crypto. And I think that's all about what I had to discuss at the moment. Willie, did you want to add anything, or are you just being a fly on the wall for this presentation?
Oh, you guys were doing such a great job. I didn't want to spoil it. Thank you guys for running through the presentation. Definitely, if anyone has any questions, please post them in the stage chat or raise your hand and we can pull you up to ask a question. I could probably ask a couple questions too in the meantime. One that I'm sure a lot of community members might be interested in is the privacy around this. And when you hear the word product analytics and stuff with the crypto app, that might scare you. Can you speak to how we're able to do this in a way that respects users' privacy?
Yeah, great question. So the way Pendo works is we do, capture what folks are actually doing in the browser or on the mobile app. Beyond that, the only thing we need is a visitor ID to attribute certain actions with repeat visitors to help with the insights and analytics. That visitor ID is obfuscated, so there's no personal identifiable information in that whatsoever. Additionally, Pendo does not capture any text on screen from inputs or text fields, so there's not going to be any other sensitive information that we capture. We work with a lot of companies in banking, in healthcare, in government, really highly regulated industries. So we have a ton of practice in making sure that we are setting things up in a way where we're not capturing any sensitive information there.
Awesome. Thanks, Zach, for the great answer. That was one of the reasons that attracted us to Pendo, was how much you guys prioritize both privacy and security. And yeah, so the community can envision this. This will give the product team the ability to track key metrics and report them to the community in a way where it's, here's how many users signed up, here's how many users bought crypto, here's how many users connected their wallet, here's how much was traded, but not actually exposing any personally identifiable information for any specific users. So that will be huge. I think Hey, Josh, go ahead.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, it looks like a really cool tool for sure. I'm just curious from an engineering perspective, for the Pendo folks. I'm the engineering workstream leader. So I'm just thinking ahead. It looks like, and I think I remember something from before, is it already in the beta.shapeshift.com code? And if so, do we need more? And I get that it needs to get into the mobile app code, but just curious about what would be needed, the lift from an engineering perspective.
Yeah, I can touch on that, and then Diggy definitely chime in if I miss anything. But so, yep, we're running on the web. That was part of kind of the proof of concept that we've been working with the team on. With the mobile implementation, that will be require some additional engineering resources, but it's really just a few hours of time there. And we're compatible both on iOS and also on Android.
Right now, Josh, we have Pendo integrated through Segment for beta.shapeshift.com. So it's a very easy integration there, but you don't necessarily have to go through Segment.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, is does it go through Segment? Okay, cool. Thanks.
All right. Can
Eric,
you guys
do you
hear
have
me?
a question? Yeah.
Okay, so to the degree that ShapeShift is open sourcing and its app will primarily be open source, at some point 100% so, does that cause any problems with what is likely a proprietary system on your side, on Pendo's side?
It does not. We've actually worked with a few open source applications before, so don't have any concerns there.
Cool, thanks.
Adam, did you have a question? If you're speaking, you're muted. But if you do have a question, I'd be happy to take it. In the meantime, Seth, did you have a question?
So whenever I see a presentation like this, the first question that often jumps into my mind is, this all looks great, but what do you guys do that your competitors aren't? Right? So the question isn't, is your product good? The question is this the product that we want to use against all other products?
I love that question, and the answer is really on Pendo being a full platform. There's a lot of solutions out there that do analytics, do in-app messaging and guidance, but we are truly the only one that does both. And the critical aspect of that is data flow. So if you use point solutions, you have to set up connections between them to make sure that you're getting the right data to take the right actions. With Pendo, we didn't go too deep into it, but we have segmentation, so you can create groups of users that combine things like what they've done in the product if they've connected a wallet, and who they are, what guides they've viewed, and all of that data is available in one platform. So it really makes it a lot more seamless for the team that is standing up the application, building guides, viewing insights to get it all in one there. If anyone has a design background on the call, I always like to make this comparison because I used to work at a design company. It's like it was Photoshop, Sketch, prototyping tools, whiteboarding tools, all these point solutions, and then Figma came along. If anyone's familiar with that, it was a full platform. I like to compare Pendo to Figma if that resonates with anyone.
That
Okay.
resonates with some of us for sure. Thanks for the question, Seth. I also, on the original forum post that I put for this, a question did come up around that, and I talked a little bit in my response there around some of the other competitors that we looked at. So feel free to take a look at that too.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah, and one thing Diggy mentioned in that post that I didn't, I touched on it in the demo, but didn't want to get too technical, is the way that Pendo deploys analytics is very low code. So once we're installed, which are already installed on the web, you don't have to add individual instrumentation to elements that you want to track, which some of our competitors do, which is a high burden on engineering teams. So with Pendo, you actually free up the engineers to do more value add engineer focused activities, where the product and design team can be the ones that create guides, tag analytics, things of that nature.
Highlander, you're up.
Hi. Yeah, I've been looking over some of the privacy statements, and I noticed that you do have the ability for a user who wants to opt out of you storing their personal information, you can delete. Have you had clients that had an opt-in where we actually ask users if they want their information tracked and they could opt out, or what do people usually do on that, and how does that? Yeah.
Yes, we definitely have had clients who go the opt-in route versus the opt-out route. We have product-driven functionality to make that really easy. If someone opts out, we can add them to an exclude list where their data won't be captured and shown in Pendo. There also are updated privacy policies for both Apple and Android, where once Pendo is installed in the mobile app, in the App Store, it will be disclaimed that ShapeShift is using Pendo, which is an analytics tracking tool, and then allow folks to opt out. So we also are compliant with GDPR standards, which touches on that too.
So if a user opts in and in the future wants to opt out, it will delete all personal information from Pendo servers and that kind of stuff.
We can do that. Yep. So we adhere to the right to be forgotten.
Okay. Yep. Those were my questions. Thanks.
Yeah, so I was kind of following up on Willie's privacy question as well. Being a longtime crypto person, I'm pretty sensitive to things like trackers on websites. So you mentioned like PII not being collected or stored. I'm wondering like how inclusive that is. Are things like IP addresses available?
Yes, IP address would be something that would be captured, and that is fairly table stakes, not just with analytics tools, but across the board with any sort of like software. What we could do, if there was stronger concerns around this, is we have a setting to disable all text capture, which means anything on the screen, like even a button that says login, we would not read the text in that button. So that would be one of the more secure settings that we can toggle on to make it so that Pendo is not capturing any text whatsoever.
What type of limitation would that then put on like the usefulness of analytics?
It would make it more challenging to tag certain features. With Pendo definitely leverages CSS. So for tagging a button, we might look at a CSS class. If it was a more general class, we would say primary button that contains sign-in text as our tag for that feature. So if we disabled all text capture, the team would just need to add unique IDs to elements where we couldn't tag without including text in that case. So it would not prevent any analytics from being useful. It would just add a little bit more work on the front end to add those unique IDs to elements that we wanted to view usage into.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thanks for the question.
If anyone else has questions, please post in the stage chat or go ahead and raise your hand. What are you going to say, Diggy?
Oh yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
Jinx. Okay, I've got one question that I'm sure a lot of the community members have. I know we can't give a completely solid answer here, but I think it'll be good to speak to. John actually mentioned this on the governance call the other day, so it's not a total secret. But many of you guys are probably wondering how the DAO would pay for a product like Pendo. Does Pendo accept Fox tokens? And excited to say that it's not confirmed and it's still TBD. So we can't count on them, and there's certainly no pressure to the Pendo team. We know it's not just on up to the members that are on this call, because if it was, I'm sure you guys would have already approved it. But Mike Hoy, who's on the call, has been speaking to the team. We did a demo last week to show how you could go from Fox to fiat, and he's been speaking to the team internally at Pendo to make the case for Pendo to actually accept Fox tokens. So fingers crossed, he's got a big meeting with the CFO tomorrow. Fingers crossed that goes well. But just so you guys know, even in the case that Pendo can't yet accept Fox tokens for any reason, this is the type of thing that the foundation is going to be able to handle. So, in the event that we needed to pay a bill in fiat that the DAO couldn't pay itself, basically we could work something out with the foundation, I envision, where the DAO could transfer crypto to the foundation, and the foundation could turn it into fiat and pay bills on behalf of the DAO.
Yeah, Willie, do you mind if I jump in here?
Please, yeah, we'd love to hear how it's going from you.
Yeah, absolutely, and thanks so much for the update. And of course, in the spirit of true transparency, I'll let the community know that that this is an ongoing conversation here at Pendo that I'm spearheading. And so Willie's correct. We are we have some big internal conversations. I hope everybody knows that we would like to facilitate this payment in Fox token. We currently have VP and CRO approval to be able to do that. So we have one more box to check in terms of, I think, getting the buy-in of the most important person here at Pendo to give the thumbs up, and that would be our CFO, Jennifer Kalin. And happy to report that she's very open to exploring this. I've taken on kind of process flow mapping out how this would work for her. And in full transparency, this is something that Pendo wants to be able to do, not just on a one-time basis. So this is a really great opportunity to experiment here, as we want to be able to give access to more people globally to be able to use our products. So we will be transparent with our updates there. Again, all things are looking positive right now. But we are just making sure this is something that we can do in compliance with our own bookkeeping.
That's so cool, Mike Hoy. Fingers crossed. Really appreciate you spearheading that initiative. That would be so cool.
Absolutely. And Willie, thank you so much for the help. It would be amazing to be able to say that we can pay for SaaS platforms in crypto. That would just be the coolest thing.
Yeah, quick question on this. So whether you can accept Fox tokens or not, accepting crypto generally would just be another separate question. Are you asking about both of those avenues?
Yes, Eric. So to be clear, the process workflow we are working out is specific to Fox.
Right, but if Fox is not approved, are you able to accept crypto in any other form? Bitcoin or a stable coin or something that's a little less weird than a Fox token.
Yeah, no, thanks for confirming. Actually, there will have to be in the workflow that we're mapping out a swap to USDC or some other stable coin. So to answer your question directly, yes, we are exploring both the route of Fox and then a crypto in general or some sort of digital currency that we're able to take.
Cool. Well, maybe you've already discussed this with the higher ups there, but if you guys are able to do that, then I think that would be an awesome news event. We could certainly put our PR team on it. For a traditional B2B company to be able to accept a transaction from a DAO, that's a very notable thing. I don't know if it's ever been done in a big, formal way like that before. So if you guys are able to do that, then let's turn it into some press attention for both groups.
Yeah, Eric, I really appreciate that suggestion. Honestly, this was something I wanted to bring up with you and Willie once we made it a little bit further down the approval route, but that would be something I think we would love to do.
Cool.
And make sure that this gets the attention I think that it deserves because of how innovative it is.
Cool. Well, thank you guys for pushing the boundaries. I appreciate it. Most B2B companies are quite dull and never want to do anything that's kind of like out of their pattern. So I think that speaks highly of you guys as a team. Looking forward into the future.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Can confirm that Pendo is cool. These guys are legit, and yeah, I appreciate y'all's open-mindedness with this. And we were talking about how this could be pretty historic, and hopefully could even open up the door for other DAOs to work with Pendo, because we really think Pendo is not only a cool team and cool company, but really the best product. Like Diggy said, we looked at a lot of different tools to solve this need, and we've also had experience using a lot of different analytics and user guidance tools. And Pendo was the only tool that really satisfied all of our needs, and also is pretty freaking awesome. So we're excited about it. I'm personally very hopeful that this proposal will pass, and I'll be voting yes. And if there are no other questions immediately, then encourage everybody to check out the forum discussion around this proposal happening right now. It's in the ideation phase. So if you have any other questions or feedback, please post there. I'll be sure to address it. And then, yeah, stay tuned for this. If the sentiment continues being positive in ideation, stay tuned for this to hit governance snapshot vote in the coming week or so. Pendo team, thank you guys so much for joining us today and giving us this presentation. And thank you guys all for just the months of walking us through your product and giving us a free trial to play around with it and giving us so much support and getting everything set up. Really appreciate you guys.
Likewise,
Absolutely.
thanks, Willie.
It was a pleasure. Yeah, thanks everybody.